Okay. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brandy and I'm a graphic designer and a health coach. As y'all know, on this channel I love to talk about all things fitness, food, and fun with a strong dash of shenanigans on top. If y'all don't know already, full body wellness has been a very important topic on this channel, and so obviously mental and emotional health is just as important as physical health. So if you don't know, now you know. And so if you're anything like me and you're tired of basically screwing yourself over by doing the things that you don't want to do and then not doing the things that you would actually like to do, then this is probably the video for you. And I am so glad that we are gathered here today. So, do you ever feel like you're doing the things that you don't want to do and then not doing the things that you want to do, and you don't really know what to do about any of that? And so you just kind of live in like this zombie mode, kind of numb, where like you're not dead, but you're also not really alive, you know, like a zombie. So some of y'all might be like,
no, what the heck is that?
But then others of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're like, oh yeah, because if you know, you know. I'm just saying. Another analogy is kind of like, you know, we're like puppies. Like, yeah, we cute and everything, but we get trained a certain way as we're brought up as kids. A lot of the times the way our parents did things with us, the things that they ingrained in us, the way that we think, the way that we behave, our feelings and thoughts are all shaped around how we were raised for the most part. And then as we grow up and enter into like teenage years and adulthood and stuff like that, we find experiences that inherently validate how we were raised, whether those experiences are positive or negative. And so just to give some context to this, maybe if you were growing up as a child, like whenever you were sad or angry or upset or whatever, maybe your mom would give you like cookies or something to kind of like shut you up. Or maybe she would like shove a phone or like an iPad in your face just to like distract you from whatever you're upset about. Well, somebody in that position, growing up in that way, they might become an adult who's addicted to cookies or addicted to their phone, or who doesn't know how to deal with their uncomfortable feelings because they're so used to having distractions or something take them away from that negative emotion they're experiencing. And that's not to say that parents are like trying to ruin their kids' lives. I feel like so many parents, especially mothers, get scared because they're like,
oh, I don't want to mess up my kid,
or
he's gonna be in therapy for that later.
I mean, it's like we all do the best that we can, whether we're parents or not. And I'm definitely not a parent, but I can see the ways that like my parents ingrained things in me that were certainly not helpful, but it's not like they meant to do that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the time these are generational things carried down from previous parents and their parents and their parents. So this is certainly not like a blame game by any means, but we do have to address the reality of where this stuff comes from. And of course, it's not always from childhood. There could be people who had really good experiences as kids, and then as they grew up in their adult life, maybe they ran into issues. It could be in adulthood that people started to have negative experiences with other people, and maybe that's what caused them to have these different narratives, these negative narratives about their identity. So whether it's from childhood or whether it's from adulthood, we all develop these self-destructive patterns of some sort, whether it's habits or whether it's our internal thoughts and feelings. One example in my own life happened about maybe like 9 or 10 years ago when I went through this really destructive pattern of binge eating and starvation. I would just fluctuate between these two things, sometimes in like the same day, but it always turned into like this granola cereal and peanut butter binge, like towards the end of the night, especially when I was feeling sad or lonely, or I had this huge blow up with like my family or something went wrong. I would always turn to this like peanut butter and granola cereal combo, and it just turned into definitely overeating, definitely a binge on some days. And I would use that combination of foods to try to soothe turbulent feelings that I had, whether it was sadness or anger or whatever it was. It was a way to like very temporarily soothe some of the ache that was going on. But it actually wasn't very soothing at all, okay? Because I would go to bed, especially when I would do this at nighttime, I would go to bed feeling really sick. And I'd engage in this pattern several times a week, and engaging in that pattern created this rut in my life. It created this rut in my brain, this rut of like,
oh, I'm upset, I need peanut butter and cereal.
And like when I say that out loud, it really doesn't even make sense. Like that doesn't even go together. But at the time, the rut had been formed in my brain, you know, the neural pathways. It became, temporarily of course, but it became an ingrained belief that was not helpful. But at that time, that was my way of trying to use something that I thought was positive to get out of a negative situation, which in that case was my feelings. So my brain at that time essentially became trained to get this feel-good dopamine hit from the cereal and the peanut butter. The intention was positive, but what I was doing was actually very negative and not healthy at all. And maybe you have something like that where you're doing something that you think is positive because you want to feel good or you want to feel better, but it actually ends up hurting you and is actually really negative. A lot of like addictions can come out of that way of thinking where you're trying to feel better, you're trying to get like a hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemicals, you're trying to get it all rolling around, full body experience, and then it just turns out to be something that's really detrimental to your life. How do you get out of something like that? You know what I'm saying? And the opposite is very true too for negative motivation. Now this is something that I tend to fall into way more easily than the other side of the equation, because I've kind of been on the other side of the equation where I try to do different things in order to like fulfill this void or whatever is missing. Then I swung completely over to the opposite side and I started using a sort of like negative, very harsh kind of motivation, which is detrimental too. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So it's that flip side when you want to do positive things and you have goals that you want to accomplish, but you use very negative motivation. So extending my granola peanut butter example, I went from doing that to then going to the gym way too much, doing way too much at the gym to try to work off all of the weight that I had gained by overeating and binging. And I would actually say some pretty mean things to myself like,
oh, you're this awful person with no self-control. No wonder you're fat and flabby. You've got to work this off because you just ruined it 2 weeks ago. So now you got to go to the gym and stay in the gym until all of those calories get burned. Girl.
And those are the kinds of things I would tell myself. Yeah, I know, not helping at all, right? But again, the goal was very positive. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted the way that I thought about fueling my body to be regulated. I wanted to hit my health goals. I wanted to lose fat and build muscle. So these were all positive things that I wanted, but degrading myself and using this negative, harsh form of motivation is not the way to get a positive outcome. And y'all, this is also part of the reason why I wanted to become a health coach, is because as soon as I started seeing clients, I see this negative motivation all the time. People talk trash about themselves. It is really sad. It is really sad to see and to know from experience, based on how I treated myself years ago. I know how I felt inside about myself, and then for me to be saying those messages about myself to myself just made me feel even worse. So to know that there's so many people out there who are really struggling with their health, and then on top of that struggle, they talk trash about themselves on top of that, it really, really is very sad. For people to feel like they deserve to suffer, or they don't deserve a break, or they don't deserve to eat, or they don't deserve to have good relationships, or whatever it is, it's really just digging a deeper hole that you're gonna have to climb out of. And again, if you know, you know. So if you've developed this rut in your brain where you're this horrible, terrible person, this fat slob who's never gonna get to your goals unless you crush yourself and destroy yourself every step of the way. Or maybe you're saying that you'll never measure up, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, or you could never do something like insert the thing, you know what I'm saying? You're just digging the hole deeper. And why do you do that? Why are we like this? So whether you're trying to do something positive and getting a negative outcome, or you're using negative motivation to get a positive outcome, we have to try to restructure these ruts that develop in our brains that keep us stuck in these poor ways of trying to get the life that we want to have. Sometimes people will have these experiences where they get put down by somebody else, whether it's a parent or somebody else in their life, and it really stops them from taking the next steps forward. So if somebody is maybe like wearing an outfit that they think they look cute in, but then somebody makes a comment like, oh, that doesn't really look that good on you, or
oh, you look a little too big to be wearing those clothes.
it might stop somebody from feeling confident in what they were doing before. People are gonna say stupid stuff all the time, but we can't let an experience like that in the past stop us from having the futures that we want. So it's similar to like a dog that has a bark collar on. You know, it's like every time the dog barks with this collar on, it's like he gets zapped, and obviously the dog doesn't like the zap. After a while, if the dog is smart, he's gonna stop barking. Even after the collar comes off and maybe the owner realizes, hey, I probably shouldn't be using this anymore, the dog might still not bark because he thinks he's going to get zapped again if he tries to bark. I feel like, you remember we're puppies, right? So we're puppies. So I feel like a lot of the time we get zapped by people, whether it's parents or whoever, and then we don't want to get zapped again, and so we carry that past pain into our futures, and we actually don't do the things that we want to do because we're afraid we're going to get zapped. And we might be perfectly capable of achieving the things that we want to achieve, but because our brains have formed that rut over time and constantly getting zapped, I'm telling you, those bark collars, just don't do it. Don't do that to your dog, okay? We're perfectly capable of taking the steps that we need to take to achieve the goals that we want, but because we have that past pain of being zapped, it's like this imaginary thing that stops us from moving forward. And why? Why do we do that? And I'm asking myself too, like, why do I do that? Okay, story time. This has actually been happening to me more often as I continue to create content on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot. People just say what they want to say, and that's fine. That I'm putting this content out there. I know that people are gonna comment. And of course, I've had several negative comments about my body, about me being a vegan, about my teeth, about my video topics. Everything that I put out there, I'm opening up for comments. I get that. Most people have really good insights and really good things to say, but then there are other people who are really just annoying. I also find it very interesting that people try to tell me on my channel what I should and shouldn't talk about, and how I should title my videos, and how I should do things. You know, it's kind of like, thanks for commenting. It really does help me out. And of course, I feel like every content creator goes through this. I've talked to other content creators here on YouTube and Instagram where people just while out. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. And again, it's like those little zaps, right? I have to remind myself not to let random people on the internet stop me from doing what I know I love doing. Stop me from doing what I'm meant to do. Because I really do feel like I'm meant to do this work, and I absolutely love it. And I was even zapping my own self for a while before I started doing YouTube, because I was giving myself all the excuses in the world as to like why I couldn't do it, why I shouldn't do it, all the ways that I could fail, all the things that people might say. And I was actually zapping myself for a while, and I did talk about that in a previous video about why I'm really on YouTube. So if you guys want to check that one out, I'll go ahead and link it or something, or card or something around here somewhere. And so I really did have to overcome my own bark collar comments, because I knew that other people would have their own, and I had to be ready for that. And honestly, I get so much more support than negativity on this channel, and I'm just grateful for the almost 900 peeps who are on my corner of the internet, and we are just doing the thing over here, and I'm just so grateful for how this channel has grown already. I know I'm still a very small YouTuber, but I just have so much appreciation and love for people who come back week after week and watch my videos, and then that they can relate and that we can have discussions in the comments about some of this stuff, whether it's faith or fitness, or whether y'all just want to see some like more vegan food, more vegan recipes. I always love interacting with you guys, and so the positivity on this channel, I love it, and I'm just so grateful for everyone who's here. So thank you, and don't forget to subscribe. And so let's sound off about this. I mean, what are your ruts? Whether it's something positive that's actually detrimental to you, or something negative that you're doing that you don't want to do and you want to try to stop. What are some of the ways that you're holding yourself back? What are some things that have happened to you that keep you from moving forward? Because I do feel like these are things that people don't talk about. When we feel held back, or when we feel like we're not making progress, it's almost like this, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but it's almost like this desire to want to hide and like not talk about it. I know that's how I feel. It's like if I feel like I messed up, or if I feel like I beat myself up, or I did something wrong, I have a tendency to just like want to hide and not talk about it, but then that's not gonna help me become the person that I want to be, a person of integrity, a person who grows, and a person who is safe to talk to, and a person who can also be honest when I talk. So I want to hear from you guys and what you think about this, and also what some of your ruts are, and what things are holding you back from what you want to achieve. Hey y'all, so there are a lot of things I'm talking about in this video. There's a lot of happenings, there's a lot of topics, there's a lot of things going on, as you can probably tell. So this is probably gonna be a 2-part video. I'm over here editing now, but it's probably gonna be 2 parts. I think the babies are saying it needs to be 2 parts as well, so kind of what they say goes, like they kind of have the final say on it. So be sure to tune in for part 2 of this video, when we get into how do we resolve some of the issues when it comes to getting out of these ruts, and what does that look like, and how do I do that? How do I continue to do that in my life? So I hope you enjoyed part 1. Go ahead and drop a comment down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I will see y'all in part 2 of this video next time. I'm gonna keep editing. Bye! If we've identified these ruts, and we can see the ways that we're holding ourselves back, it's like, what do we do about this? Like, okay, we see everything wrong, but then like, how do we fix it? You know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's a new year, it's January 1st.
I'm eating only vegetables. I'm not gonna eat anything else except vegetables. I'm going to gym twice a day.
And then it's like February 1st, what you doing? What you doing February 1st? What you doing February 1st? So how do we go from trying and failing to actually putting things into practice that will produce change? How we do that?